Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our annual. Stop. Okay, there we go. There now, the people, everyone can hear me, and online. So good morning again, everyone, and welcome to our annual symposium. My name is Corey Gross. I'm the president and public outreach coordinator for the Alberta Palaeontological Society, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to our annual symposium for 2024. The Alberta Palaeontological Society was founded in 1986, almost 40 years ago now. We're feeling old here in the society. To promote the science of paleontology, the hobby of fossil collecting, and to build bridges between the academic, professional, and avocational communities with a shared love of the mysteries of prehistoric life. This annual symposium is the event that most exemplifies this mission. Here at Mount Royal University, university researchers, consulting geologists, emerging students, and just curious passers-by are able to meet, learn, and explore the most cutting-edge research. And our thanks first to Dr. Jenny Scott of Mount Royal University for our keynote talk this afternoon. Mount Royal has been good friends of ours since the APS was created, giving us a space for meetings, fossil sorting, storage, and even lending us Lacey Hollaboff as our program coordinator. Thank you to Lacey for putting together our excellent slate of speakers and for the work you do for us month to month. And thank you to Mount Royal University's Earth and Environmental Sciences Department and Dr. Paul Johnston, Dr. Jonathan Withy, Dr. John Cox, Candace Toner, and Dr. Wayne Hegland for hosting us. This year, we also welcome back Dr. Jessica Theodore and Jared Boris of the University of Calgary, covering the bases of mammals and dinosaurs. From the private sector, we're welcoming Tako Koning and Dr. John Node, both members of the APS and in good standing, as far as I know, with a passion for public education. Both have spoken at our monthly meetings many times. From outside of Alberta, we welcome Jack Milligan at the University of Saskatchewan, presenting on work done in the not quite as famous, but nonetheless critically important dinosaur fields in the land of living skies. And from here in Alberta, we welcome once again Darren Tankey from the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology to give us an update on fieldwork here in the province. And finally, our annual symposium could not be possible without the tireless work of many people. My thanks to the APS executive, especially Lacey Hollaboff again, Mona Trick, Vasyl Marslovsky, and Howard Allen, for the incredible amount of work that goes to organizing this event every year. My thanks also go out to the volunteers from the Society who have stepped forward to volunteer their time, posters, and fossils. This event is co-hosted by the APS, Mount Royal University, and the Paleontology Division of the Canadian Energy Geoscience Association, who I would also like to thank for their ongoing support of the symposium and our regular events. Thank you to our poster presenters, and I hope eventually we'll have stands to put those posters on, and our lecturers, and of course, my thanks to all of you in attendance. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lacey now.
Thank you, Corey. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out this morning and joining us for our symposium, the 27th annual. As we gather here today, it is important to acknowledge that Mount Royal University is situated on the traditional territories of the Niitsitapi and the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, and the Nakota. Additionally, we recognize that the city of Calgary is home to the Métis Nation. This symposium serves as a platform to showcase the diverse talents and insights of both avocational and professional paleontologists from across Western Canada. Through a combination of presentations and poster sessions, we aim to highlight the rich tapestry of research and discovery within the field of paleontology. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you a distinguished figure in the realm of geoscience, Tako Koning. Tako was born in Holland and nurtured in the vast landscapes of Edmonton and Canada since the age of 5. A stalwart member of esteemed organizations such as our own APS, CSEG, and a plethora of others, Tako's name is synonymous with the Calgary geoscience community. Over a course of 4 decades, Tako has contributed significantly to the body of knowledge in geoscience with over 200 abstracts, articles, and papers. Tako, pardon me. Tako graces us with his expertise as he delves into the captivating world of the Messel Pit, central Germany, unveiling the fossilized treasures of the Eocene. With his wealth of experience and boundless enthusiasm, I have no doubt that his presentation will leave us enriched and inspired. Please join me in welcoming Tako Koning. Oh, great keeper. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, let me, okay, yeah, hey, this works okay. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and, so, yeah, Racy calls me Tako, some people call me Tako. I'm originally from Holland, so the Tako's from Holland, Tako is from, Canada. I lived in Nigeria for a number of years, and they called me TK, and lived in Angola for a number of years, and they called me Tako. So I go, you get to say, hey, you, and that works too. So it's a real pleasure for me to give this talk, and so I will kind of get into it right now. Oops, yeah. So I'm not quite sure what's happening over here. It looks like the little piece on the bottom, although it shouldn't make any, oh, there we go. So just to get started, so the Messel Pit is, and then if I push this button over here, I think for the pointer is where? Eric, where's the pointer? The middle button. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, so the Messel Pit is located right over here, and here's Frankfurt, and the international airport is over here. And so you can get to it in about a half hour. You drive along over here, you find the Messel Pit. And, you know, I'm not an expert on it. I only spent a day there, okay? But it was such a fascinating place that I bought every book possible about it. And that's what this presentation is all about. This is the stuff you're going to be seeing. I'm not sure what's making the banging sound here, but just to give you a taste of what I'll be showing you. So, and this presentation, anybody wants to copy the presentation, you're welcome to have it. And I also have a poster paper, and the poster is hopefully it'll be up when we get the poster boards. So this is again from one of the books. Again, it shows the pit over here, and you can see that, you know, this is the edge of the pit over here, and this is some of the shale, mainly the Custard shale. And so just to comment on global geotourism, okay, so, you know, geotourism is becoming a really big thing. It's a green industry, and it provides a lot of employment. The Royal Taro Museum is an example of something which has a huge impact on the economy of Drumheller. The same thing with this place in Germany. Again, it provides a lot of employment for the local industry. And so, and again, here's a photograph of the pit. Kind of, you can see it's fairly green and wooded slopes on the edge of the pit. And again, this is from one of the books which I bought. And so this is the source of all of the presentation, about 3 different books. And that is the basis. Also an article by National Geographic. And since I have you as an audience, I lent all my books to someone and they disappeared. And so I'm not sure if this group, I presented this one time to the group, I presented it to see, I presented it a few different places. I know somebody asked me for a copy of the books and I never got them back. And so That's the problem when you lend books, right? You always want to make sure you write down who you lent it to. But that's the basis for the presentation. So the historical development of the pit, so as early as 1885, the Messel Pit was mined for tar and paraffin. And during the 1920s and during World War II, the Messel was mined for petroleum to produce gasoline, diesel, and heating oil. Because, Germany had no oil, okay? Germany doesn't have any sedimentary geology of any consequences for hydrocarbons. And so they were using this as a major source for their gasoline and jet fuel. And the open pit mining was carried out as deep as 60 meters. And then after the war ended, then they used it as a garbage pit for about 17 years, okay? And it almost got completely covered by garbage. And then the scientific community in Germany and also the local population kind of rescued it. And then in 1995, the Messel was added to the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So that's the history of this fascinating place. And there is a large interpretive center. So if you ever, if you're flying through Frankfurt on another destination, you can easily spend a day there, okay? And it's in the historic part of Germany, so it's a great place to spend a day. So descriptions of the Messel, it's a unique scientific and magic location according to UNESCO. The National Geographic said the Messel Pit is a source of some of the world's most extraordinary fossils. The Messel is a window on the ancient world and highlights the rise of life on Earth, okay? That was in the February 2000 issue of the National Geographic. So this was sort of the start. This is a big refinery in 1928, and you can see that there was a massive amount of work going on. They're mining out all that shale. Of course, they were chock-a-block full of fossils, but nobody cared because at that time there wasn't much concern about science, and they needed it for oil and diesel and jet fuel. And so again, this was a Messel carbonizing plant, about 1920. So a massive amount of industrialization was taking in this pit. And well, this was from 10 years ago. This is a museum in the village of Messel, and that's where I bought some of my books. There's a museum in the city of Darmstadt, and that contains many fossils from the Messel. And then also in Frankfurt, there's a big museum called the Naturmuseum Sneckenberg, and they have a lot of fossils. I did not go to this museum myself. So the geological history of the Messel, but this was before I start showing you the actual fossils, okay? And it was oil shale formed 47 million years ago, so it was in the Eocene. They did core drilling, and again, that gave them more information on the overall stratigraphy. But basically, you had a magma flowing up along fault lines, and then it met groundwater, shallow groundwater. You had an explosion, and that left a big hole about 1,000 meters long, 700 meters deep. And so it's a classical example of what we call a Mara volcano, okay? And then in time, rainwater and groundwater collected in the hole. And so at the bottom of the lake, it became compacted and formed this oil shale, okay, which I'll get more into. So this shows the development of this Mara Lake. So this is granite, this is diorite. There were some vertical faults. You had magma coming up, and there was a small lake. It kind of formed this depression. Water came in, huge explosion, and then basically, again, this is sort of, I guess, the dike, you'd say, and there's sand and gravel at the bottom. Here's the organic stuff, and this is the lake itself. And of course, the organic stuff is growing right, and this was during tropical times, okay? This is not during cold times, this is tropical. And so, which is very critically important. So that was the formation of the Messel Pit. And so the environment that was believed at that time was kind of, tropical, like highly tropical rainforest. I lived for 7 years in Sumatra in a rainforest environment. And this is exactly what this is, Sumatra type stuff, highly moist, lots of critters, stuff falling from the trees into the lake, and the lake, of course, was full of all sorts of alligators and stuff. And so tropical environment. And again, this is an example is in Manus. This is the in the Amazon, and so the analog is the lake in South America rainforest. Okay. So so then again, this is from one of the books. It shows the water temperature, water circulation, oxygen content. So again, the lake was only about 1.5 kilometers, okay, and so it would have been like about a mile across, like at most, and really deep. And so stuff falls into the lake, and it goes through this 20 meters of, where you'd have oxidation taking place because there's water moving, circulating over here. And so you'd have all sorts of critters which would be scavenging on anything that falls into the lake. But if the bodies managed to get past here and they sank to the bottom, and there was no oxygenation taking place, it's just a total reducing environment. And so that, of course, preserved anything that dropped to the bottom. And that's what makes this place so unique, so different from so many other places. So, and again, they interpret that this would have been about 30 degrees C. At the bottom, it would have been maybe 20, but nothing is moving on the bottom. Okay, there's no movement, no oxygen. I wonder what the noise is. So at any rate, so that kind of sets the stage for what was happening in this lake. So again, the lake had a diameter of about 1.5 kilometers and a depth of 300 meters. And so 300 meters, if you think in terms of still the old standard, 300 meters would be the same as 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet would be like if the building has stories which are 10 feet high, it would be equivalent to a building with about 100 stories. Okay, like the Bow Building the Bow Building downtown has got about, I think, 80 stories. So the depth of that lake would be the equivalent of the 80-story building plus another 20 stories on top. So narrow and really deep. Okay, and so that's what makes this sort of interesting. So, well, interesting relevance, okay? So, and then the very limited water, almost no water coming in and out, so very little water circulation. Top 20 meters was plenty of oxygen, so, but as you got deeper, oxygen was not there. So at the bottom, you'd have leaves, pollen, and the stuff that got to the bottom was just didn't move, okay? And the only thing you had was anaerobic bacteria. So so now we're going to start looking at the rocks, okay? So this is the oil shale, finely layered freshwater clay rock. Okay, this is the oil shale. This is another example of the oil shale from the book Geoparks from UNESCO. You can see it's fairly fractured, minor fractures, desiccations. This is the way they were digging up the fossils. Now, this was from 2005, so that would have been 20 years ago. I think nowadays the people would be wearing safety jackets and maybe even a hard hat. But this was 20 years ago, right? And Germany is not that, they tend to be a little laissez-faire, so they don't want to be pushed around by all the safety people, right? So anyways, and so this shows again the shale, a team searching for fossils, and again, you can see some of these slabs of the fossil. I mean, these are big slabs, huh? And so you got team kind of taking them out. And then I think over time, they got more scientific, like in this case, they're doing microstratigraphic field work. So before they pull it out, they're actually kind of mapping it, putting it in 3D, trying to reconstruct the environment, you know, at that time. So much higher level of sophistication than initially. But anyway, so this is how they were taking out all the fossils. So moving along, so now we're going to start showing these really interesting and super important fossils. Okay, I mean that's why we're here. So this is a leaf, okay, of they called arum, and the scientific name is Archipelasis tertiaranus. And so again, you can see over here, you can see, you know, the real detail of the leaf. And so I'll first be going into leaves, then I'll be going into insects, and then you'll see as I go to different stages of life. And again, you see the brownish color, that's the oil, okay? But basically it's the oil shale. And so here's a leaf they think is possibly from a grape plant. And so again, you can see the individual veins, as it were, in here. And oh, here's a scale over here, 1 centimeter. So it's a substantial leaf, okay? It's not a small leaf. These are leaves from hothouse flowers. These are fossils from about 60 families of flowering plants, which have been found at Messel. It says the most fragile structures often survive. And so you can see these are, I guess, these are the little pollen, I guess, you know, I'm not a botanist. So these are possibly the leaves. And you can see even the thin stems over here, extremely thin stems, which are preserved. And again, it points out to the amazing degree of preservation that you have there. So these are leaves, again, hothouse flowers, and it says their most fragile structures often survive. Okay, the most fragile structures often survive. So for example, this is a fossilized pollen grains on a flower. Okay, so this would be the flower over here, but then you can see you got the pollen. You got the pollen over here, and the color. So it's just stunning that it even preserves the color. Okay, and that's what makes the Messel such a unusual accumulation of fossils. So I'm finished with the leaves, and now I'm moving up to bugs. Okay, and I'm not sure what the scientific name is for bugs, but they're bugs to me. And I'm not a paleontologist, okay? I'm just a generalized geologist. And so, but this is called a stag beetle. The carapace of this beetle reflects the same metallic greens and blues, which once helped it hide on the forest floor. Okay, so again, here it is, and you can see the green, the blue green, and I guess it was meant to camouflage as it scavenged along the forest floor. So it was not a water insect, it was a land insect. This is a, Eric, I might need a little help. I don't know what's going on.
Hold it farther away.
Okay, so you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a bug, a jewel beetle, and these beetles were distinguished by their preserved color structures, which even today shimmer in their original glands. Okay, and so if you're to see these in the museum, that's the color's there. Okay, it has not lost the color. So pretty amazing. And this is called a darkling beetle, a colorful darkling beetle. And again, you can see the two wings over here And I guess the head is somewhere in over here. So then we go, oh, another one. This is a bee called Apodea. And you know, again, you can see even the wing here, the wing is totally original. There's been no change whatsoever. You can see the little veins, as it were, ribs, I guess you call it ribs in the wing. So obviously bees were in existence in the Messel. And again, the Messel is about 46 million years old. Okay, so we're finished with the bugs, and now we're going to frogs. And so this is in the fossilized preserved skin. Okay, so here's the frog over here, and in this case, it's still got the skin. Okay, as you can see over here, and so perfectly preserved, and skin over here and along the sides, and of course here's the claws. This one is as remarkable. The skin is gone. For some reason, skin is gone, but you can see the skeleton, and the skeleton is 100% complete. But then you have to imagine this thing sank to the bottom of that deep lake. And once they hit the bottom, nothing happened. There was no currents, nothing moved. There were no scavengers because it was too oxygen deficient. So this thing is it's 100% preserved. This is a snake, a dwarf boa constrictor at the length of about 50 centimeters. Okay, so fair sized critter, and you can see every bone is intact. It's not one bone missing. And again, the brown color, okay, from the oil shale. This is a primitive bony fish. I guess they found them in large numbers in certain excavation areas of the pit, but only fingerlings. Okay, for some reason they haven't found the adults, only fingerlings, and they're about 3 to 6 centimeters. And again, you can see every little bone is intact. This fish, they call it a double fin perch. The dorsal fin is subdivided into 2 parts. So here's your dorsal fin here, here's your dorsal fin here. And so that is called a double fin perch. Things get more interesting. This is a turtle, they call it a 3-clawed soft-shell turtle. It's the largest of the Messel turtles. It's about 60 centimeters in length, okay? Obviously, here's the head. And I think the 3 claws comes from over here. This one, here's a claw, here's a claw, here's a claw. But they call it a 3 claw, but I'm kind of wondering what this is over here. What can I say? This is the way it was described in the book. They call it, the species is a 3-clawed soft-shelled turtle. There's a pair of turtles, and soft-shelled turtle pair, and I'm not sure if it's male or female, but they're in a relationship or what's going on here. What can I say? I'm just, this is all from the books, okay? And I'm not an expert on this. Crocodiles. This is a armor plate crocodile, length of up to 1.5 meters. So this would be at 1.5 meters. Well, that's almost 6 feet, right? So if you were swimming in this lake, you probably wouldn't want to get close to this thing, you know. But again, so here's the head, and here's the rest of it, and then here's another crocodile. It's called a double-toothed crocodile, and I imagine that it would relate to the teeth within the skull, but that's what it's called, a double-toothed crocodile. And again, I'm not an expert on this, so I can't tell you any more about it. But again, it's pretty well the same length, about 1.5 kilometers. So then we go to the birds. Okay, this is the ibis, and research at the Messel indicates that this bird is related to the ibis family. And again, you can see it, well, it's self-evident. I mean, it's totally complete, even the claws over here. And, but I'll show you some which are even better than this. So this is a bird, it's called a Messel rail. And this is one of the most common of the Messel birds. So I guess they find a lot of these in the Messel. And again, you can see the head over here, and obviously it's got a long leg, so it would have been kind of a wader, I guess, you know, shallow water wader type of bird. This is called a nightjar. Note the beautifully preserved feathers. Again, you can see over here. Here's the head, the feather. You can see the veins within the feathers. And I don't know how common that is, but like I say, this keeps getting better and better. So this is called a hoopie-like bird. The color patterns on the tail feathers are easy to recognize. So here's the head, and here you can see some of the wings. For some reason, this wing has a different pattern than this wing, okay? But that's the way it was. That's the way it is. And so here's the head again over here. And again, so I blew it up, okay? I blew it up. And so again, you can see this pattern over here, which is distinctly different than this pattern over here. So it's like it's got two wings with different colors. And for reasons totally unbeknownst to me. So now we go to mammals, and the mammals, oh, this is really interesting stuff. And so first we go to lake-dwelling mammals, and this is called Fossilized. It's a predatory fish-eating mammal. Note the thin fur cover. So you can see the fur, especially on the back here, the fur. And so this is the Fossilized fish-eating mammal. This is again another one. And it's a predatory fishing mammal, and you can see the fur on the top at the back, and the fur even goes almost to the end of the tail, you know. So this thing is swimming in the water eating fish, but it still felt the need for having some kind of a fur cover. Why? I have no idea, but anyways, it's part of the evolution of these critters. And so this is an amazing one. It's the anteater. It's called the Messel anteater. And it's the only complete fossil of an anteater found outside of South America. And so again, the anteater over here, the tail going all the way over here, I don't see much evidence of fur on it. And but an amazing assemblage. And then this is a rodent. And the rodents, they have long tails to move from branch to branch. Okay, so this one was living up in the treetops. And it has especially good skin preservation. So look at over here, especially the top over here. So you can imagine the rodent tail, no fur at the top. You can see this is all fur over here, okay? And so it lived in the treetops. And obviously this one fell out, when it died, it fell out of the treetop and ended up in the bottom of the lake and was preserved. Well, this is a primitive carnivore, a meat-eating mammal, very rare in Messel, no very long furry tail. So you can see this one, the tail, in fact, is really furry. Look at all the fur on this thing. And then again, you can see the fur on the top. And that was a meat-eating mammal. So obviously it lived on shore. And then it gets even more interesting, in my opinion. Here's a small primitive Messel horse. It's called a miniature horse, a horse the size of a dog. Okay, a horse the size of a dog, a length of 80 centimeters and a shoulder height of 35 centimeters. And here's the head over here. Well, you can see see for yourself what you have here. And so here is another Messel horse. It's called Europipus. For the name, for what it's worth. But anyway, but this mare was pregnant, okay? So here is the head, here is the legs, and then this is the womb of this mare, okay? This is the 5 minutes week. This is the one there. And so I blew it up. And so here is the infant within her womb. Here's the head, and here's a leg, here's a leg, here's a leg. Okay. So they were able, even that has been preserved. Okay. This is a sprinting horse called Lepidopterus, whatever it's called, and and the guts of it show they lived on small lizards, mouse-like creatures, and large insects. Okay, so here's the guts of it, which I blew up, and again, this over here, and the shapes are made up of clusters of anaerobic bacteria, and the only organisms they're the only organisms that can live in that oxygen depleted lake. And they were fossilized after eating the animal's decomposing tissue. Okay, so this is the fossilized gut of this critter. Okay. Lastly, this is the tapir, a large herbivorous animal, extremely rare. And then the fossil. This is a bat. It's incredibly preserved. You can see the skin of the wings. Okay, here's the wings. Here's the skin. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful example of the fossilized Messel Pit. Then the head, this is the head of that bat, and you can see, okay, here's the teeth, and they did an x-ray of it, like a dentist would do to your mouth looking for cavities. And again, you can see the teeth over here, and so the x-ray reveals even more detail. So now I'm winding down over here, and I'm going to take you a little ways away from Messel. So the Messel was Eocene. I looked at the Green River Shale. I've never been there, but southwestern United States. The best is in Wyoming over here, the blue here, and and it's also Eocene, and I'll talk about that very briefly. Green River Shale, and for my poster, I brought some samples of the Green River Shale. Okay, so I'll be showing you some of this. And then you have the Driftwood Shale in BC, right outside of Smithers, and also the Maccabee Shale. Famous Maccabee Shale is Eocene. So it's equivalent also to sort of the Messel, okay? And then lastly, okay, then you have the Pascagoula. So again, so the Driftwood, and I hope we can talk here sometime next year about the Driftwood. It's a beautiful, beautiful shale, and but not as good as a Messel. And so I did a comparison of Messel vis-a-vis. So the Messel was 46 million years ago, a small lake. Green River was about 50 million, so older. It was more in a large intermontane lakes, and temperature was subtropical to warm. The Driftwood Shale outside of Smithers is 52 million years ago. It was temperate to subtropical. The Pascagoula is 60 million years old. And of course, I brought some samples of Pascagoula. So the Green River shales, the Driftwood shales, the Pascagoula do not NOT compared to the complexity and degree of preservation of the Messel, because the Messel was under such unique conditions, tropical, small lake, etc. So concluding remark is that according to the publication European Geoparks, the Messel Pit has this special atmosphere which people feel when visiting the pit. Respect for the dignity and uniqueness of nature and earth. And I kind of had the same feeling when I visited the Messel Pit, and I studied the literature while preparing for this presentation. And this is my personal view, is that, we live in times of rapid climate change. I believe in that. We're experiencing a climate crisis caused by mankind's population explosion. Mankind is also obsessed with economic growth, and then we're obsessed with ever increasing income. We're obsessed with political influence. And so what are we doing? We're getting this massive urban sprawl, and it's taken up much too much important farmlands and special wilderness places. As you all know, we continue to rapidly lose so many species worldwide. And to me, the Messel Pit is sort of crying out to mankind to mercifully treat the earth and to treat Mother Earth with kindness and dignity. That's my view for what it's worth. So thank you for listening. And again, if you want a copy of this presentation, there's nothing confidential in it. You can come see me. I can email it to you. And I've got a poster in the hallway. Hopefully the poster boards have arrived. And I've got some, I don't have any fossils from the Messel because you just couldn't take any. But I do have some fossils which I took of the Green River Shale and of the Driftwood Shale and of the Basket, so we can, for discussion purposes. So, thank you very much.
Any questions, if anyone would like to ask a question?
Would the vessel be considered a logger spot?
What's that?
Would it be considered a logger spot due to the exceptional preservation?
A what?
A logger spot?
Lagestan.
Yeah.
I don't know that, I don't know that expression.
Oh, I know the Burgess Shale here is considered a logger spot.
Oh, it'd be like, I guess it could be like the Burgess Shale. Yeah, of course, the Burgess Shale is green, you know.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, obviously it was preserved in unique conditions, you know, to make it what it is. So it would be, you know, the same thing, yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
So there must be quite a high total organic carbon content if they were actually mining this to, you know, extract petroleum, rather like the Green River Shale, they can do the same thing. Now, so what is the actual source of the carbon? Because it doesn't look like it's plants, because you have plants preserved as plants. So the carbon is something else. You got any? Did they say anything about what the source of the carbon actually is?
Yeah, so the question is, what was the source of the carbon? Because obviously it was a very rich shale because they were mining for oil, like they had done. I'm not sure if they mined the Green River Shale very much for
Yeah,
oil.
yeah, they do have processing.
A little bit, but then it
plants.
fell apart to environmental reasons, I think. I'm not sure if they're still doing it. But where the source of the carbon, I just kind of assume that it's just all this organic stuff kind of raining into the lake, and it sort of got finally disseminated, and that's where it came from. I don't know, Dale, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I suspect it's got a lot of bacteria and algae.
Yeah, just from a lot of bacteria and algae, yeah.
They're kind of like the analogs, the green material at the surface.
Yeah, and I mean, don't forget, it was highly tropical, so you had an abundance of organic stuff just raining into that lake.
Yeah, but I saw a paper not long ago, people looking at some tropical lakes in these settings, and they can't get anywhere near the total organic carbon that you find in these deposits.
Right.
Just strange.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I wonder whether maybe some of the volcanic activity.
Yeah, I think
chew some of this.
Take out something.
Yeah, John is saying maybe because of the volcanic activity, it sort of contributed towards the carbon content. Maturity, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering because all the animal fossils are showing intact and preserved, almost like they kind of were hovering over the lake and then suddenly died and dropped into the water and then never got scavenged and just sank to the bottom. There's a lake in Africa where they, you know, when the lake turns over every once in a while, it releases a toxic gas. There's the volcanic lakes too, I think. I'm just thinking, is there a process where, you know, maybe that might happen and cause sort of a big die off and everything just kind of falls in? Do you have any ideas on that?
I think in this case, it was just a very long, continuous process that you didn't have any kind of recycling of water or no storms, or just a small. In the first place, even if you had a storm, it would hardly create any energy in the surface water because it's such a small lake. And I think it's just that it just represents millions of years of very slow, deposition of all that organic stuff into the lake. And again, no water hardly going in, none going out, so no recirculation of the water. Stagnant, it must have been, even if it had been there, it would have been probably a good, strong odor, maybe from sulfur, because of what was happening there. Yeah, question there?
Also, like, did they just split out the rocks? It's a beautiful thing, or did they chip maybe on the body?
You know, I think it's a fairly fissile shale, okay, it's a very fissile shale from what I can see. And so mostly, it would just, if you manage to cleave it just right, and just open up, you didn't have to dig around like, for example, if you're in Morocco, you go buy all these fossils in Morocco, but in that case, they chipped them out, they had chisels and whatnot, and with days and days of work, they come up with beautifully preserved, fossils. But in this case, I don't think so. It's just the fissile nature of the shale, and it was not highly indurated. So I think we just kept, and then just suddenly you just pop open and find one of these magnificent fossils.
So, background at the museum in, at the Symposium Museum, this
Yeah.
material, when it's exposed, immediately has to be coated in wax or it begins to break down.
Yeah.
As soon as the oil shell begins to oxidize. And so as a result, what they do is coat it in wax, take the slab, convert it, cut it down,
Yeah.
and coat with wax to keep it on display. He took it, he's home.
Yeah. Jenny,
I was wondering that being that it's German and it's used for fuel oil production, it wasn't bombed at all during the war? It wasn't in the sights of the Allies to get rid of Hitler's war machine fuel?
I haven't gone into that kind of detail. The books which I got didn't go into it, but I'm sure if I was to do some Googling and looking at it from a military standpoint of view, I'm sure they would have been subject to some bombing range. Because that was one of the big problems for Germany. They had this for their oil and Romania. And of course, when the war started, one of the first things the Allies did was try to destroy all the Romanian oil fields.
Yeah.
To stop the Germans from having access to the Romanian oil.
I was just wondering, thinking
Yeah.
that luckily maybe.
I'm sure they would have tried to take
Yeah.
it out.
The Allied bombers weren't so good, and so we still have the Messel Pits.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. And it was okay, thank you very much, and come to me back the poster, and again, if you want a copy of this, you're more than welcome.